Is it called birth or respawning? Is this a random person or an NPC? Is taking money that's not yours from an ATM fraud or a glitch? I'm America's attorney. I've been a lawyer for over 23 years. I've helped over 20,000 clients. I also opened a savings account when I was 7 years old with $18.08, which basically makes me an expert in the banking field. So let's get started. Now, if you're in the corner of the internet where you don't watch people do stupid and illegal things on camera and then post it, first of all, congrats, you're winning at life. Second, you probably don't know anything about the topic of today's video. So let me explain. Recently, a phenomenon has gone viral about a Chase Bank glitch that allows people to withdraw money from an ATM that was not in their bank account. For example, let's say you have like $500 in your Chase Bank account. You went to an ATM, deposited a check for $5,000, then the ATM would just spit out $5,000 and the world rejoiced. Free money! Post it on social media so everyone can reap their rewards. Except life is not a video game, and this is not a glitch without consequences. Let me explain. There are 3 ways in which this is illegal, and each one is worse than the one before. Let's start with the easy one. In every state in the U.S., there is a legal principle called unjust enrichment that stands for the proposition that the, bank is entitled to the glitch money. An unjust enrichment claim arises when one party unfairly benefits at the expense of another, and the law requires that the party return the benefit or compensate the other party. To succeed in a claim for unjust enrichment, most courts would require that the bank prove the following key elements. A benefit was conferred. The ATM user must have received a benefit from the bank. This benefit can take many forms, such as money from an ATM. And it doesn't matter if the customer requested the benefit or not. What's important is that they received it. Retention of the benefit that is unjust. The defendant's retention of the benefit must be unjust or inequitable. This means that it would be unfair for the defendant to keep the benefit without compensating the plaintiff, especially if the benefit was conferred under circumstances like mistake or fraud or coercion, or like now, an ATM glitch. Number 4, no legal justification for retaining the benefit. The customer must lack a legal reason to keep the benefit. If there's a valid contract or other legal basis for allowing the defendant to retain the benefit, the claim for unjust enrichment fails. But if these elements are proven, the customer may be required to disgorge the benefit, meaning they must return it or provide compensation to restore the bank to its original position. The activity we're talking about checks all the boxes of unjust enrichment. But that's only the tip of the iceberg, because these happy customers are probably also guilty of civil fraud. To prove fraud, the bank must generally establish the following elements. Number 1, misrepresentation of a material fact. The defendant must have made a false statement or misrepresentation of a fact that is significant and important material to the transaction. It can be a lie, a concealment of the truth, or an omission of information that should have been disclosed. In this instance, asking for money that's not yours would qualify. Number 2, knowledge of the falsity. The defendant, that's the customer, must have known that the statement was false or acted with reckless disregard for the truth. In some instances, making a statement with no reasonable basis to believe that it's true can meet this requirement, such as requesting money that's not in your account. Number 3, an intent to deceive. The defendant must have intended to deceive or induce the plaintiff into relying on the false statement. The intent is typically shown by demonstrating that the defendant had a purpose to gain an advantage or cause harm. Or, keep money from an ATM that wasn't theirs. Number 4, justifiable reliance. The bank must have relied on the customer's misrepresentation and had good reason to do so. In other words, the bank must show that it was reasonable to trust the false information in making a decision. Now, this one's a little bit of a gray area since the ATM doesn't really have like a brain. Number 5, damages. The plaintiff must have suffered some harm or loss as a result of the reliance on the misrepresentation. This one's easy since what was taken was cash. It has value. Now, if all of those elements are proven, then the customer may be liable for fraud, and the bank could be entitled to recover damages and other remedies. Getting sued for fraud is bad, but things can actually get worse from here, because the bank customer is also now a criminal. And while getting sued by a bank for money that you took is bad, getting convicted of a crime or possibly multiple crimes is way worse. It's far worse. Chase Bank has already released this statement regarding the glitch. As with any fraud-related issue, we review internally and refer out to law enforcement as appropriate. What does that scenario look like? These laws vary by jurisdiction, but some common criminal offenses that might be charged in this situation would include theft or larceny. This occurs when a person intentionally takes property that belongs to another without permission with the intent to permanently deprive the owner of it. Here, if the customer knows that they're taking money that isn't theirs due to a glitch, they can be charged with theft. The fact that the ATM malfunctioned doesn't make the money legally the customer's. This is not a game. A theft charge on this scale would be a felony. Bank fraud. This involves knowingly executing or attempting to execute a scheme to defraud a financial institution. Withdrawing money from an ATM that you know you are not entitled to, especially repeatedly or in a premeditated way, could be considered bank fraud. This is often prosecuted under federal law if it affects a federally insured bank, which Chase Bank is. Bank fraud is a felony that can result in fines and short prison sentences up to 30 years. Wire fraud. Now, this involves using electronic communications like an ATM transaction to carry out a fraudulent scheme. If the withdrawal involves communication over the bank's electronic network, such as using the ATM, it may be classified as wire fraud. Wire fraud is a semi-serious federal offense because it can only result into imprisonment for up to 20 years, along with heavy fines. Receiving or possessing stolen property. These two involve knowingly receiving or taking possession of or keeping property that was obtained unlawfully. The money withdrawn from the ATM could be viewed as stolen from the bank, making the customer liable under this law if they keep the funds that they know they don't rightfully own. Unauthorized use of an access device. Using an ATM or other access device, such as a debit card, without authorization to withdraw or transfer funds fraudulently. If the customer repeatedly exploits the ATM glitch to make unauthorized withdrawals, they may face charges related to the misuse of an access device. The severity of the charges would depend on factors such as the amount withdrawn, the intent behind the actions, and whether it's a one-time incident or part of a larger scheme you broadcast on social media. The penalties can be severe, including prison time and heavy fines. But I mean, stealing money on camera and then posting about it online makes for great content. So perhaps, it all balances out. But there's a catch. Banks desperately need deposits, and they want their customers to feel that the money they deposit is safe. And for that reason, if these morons would have only stolen the money and not gone public with their escapades, the bank would have likely kept its mouth shut. Banks are robbed every day. ATMs get hit every day, but we rarely hear about it because it's a bad look on the bank. They don't seem safe if they're always reporting that they're getting robbed. It's a tough look for the banks. Don't feel too bad for them. They do seem to know how to make a little bit of money here and there. As of yet, there's no news about any legal action being taken on Chase Bank's behalf against the people who defrauded the bank. Do you think Chase Bank should pursue legal action? What do you think about those who participated in the glitch? Hey, drop your pro se opinion down below. Let me know what you think. And here's a fun, worry-free glitch for you. If you hit the subscribe button down below, you'll be lawyered up. You'll get free, fun legal content straight from me. So what are you waiting for? Recently, a phenomenon has... But some banks are being robbed every